Good morning, I'm John Clark, filling in this morning for John Foster on AM Columbus. John has taken a few days off for the holiday. This morning in the studio, we have Bethany Messersmith, the director of the Ivy Tech Library and co-director of the University Library at the Columbus Learning Center. Bethany, thanks for coming in this morning.
Thank you, John.
The big event coming up next month for the library is going to be another of your series of Columbus past, present, and future with the present in January.
That's correct.
What are people going to see if they have never been to one of these before?
Sure. So we focus on a facet of Columbus history. So obviously we had Columbus Past on October 19th, and now we're going to be focusing on present day on January 25th. And then on March 29th, we'll be focusing on the future and what's in store for Columbus based on some projections from community members.
How was the one for the past received? Did you get a pretty good group of people coming in? And I know you had an interesting group of speakers for that.
Yes, we were really excited. We had about 100 people attend, and that's pretty unusual for community events hosted by any of the academic entities on our campus.
Wow. And then that was an event that you had a wide variety of speakers talking about a wide variety of subjects from our past, all the way from the pump house to the railroad, as I recall.
We had the Historical Society, so we had them come out, and we had Dr. Iorio come out and talk about pictures in Columbus history, so she did a really nice job of that. The pump house, as you mentioned. And we also had Greg Lewis from the high school talking about Generals Tipton and Bartholomew. So that was fascinating and very well received by the audience. In fact, we had a lot of people that were asking when the next event was because they wanted to put it on their calendars already.
And you have a pretty good lineup for this event coming up at 7 o'clock on the evening of the 25th of January.
Yes. I am really looking forward to it. We have a pretty diverse panel grouping. So we have Rick Scalf, member of Black Lives Matter, Kathy Oren, executive director at the Community Education Coalition, which is actually in the Columbus Learning Center on the Ivy Tech IUPUC campus. And then we have Brian Payne, airport director at Columbus Municipal Airport, and Jim Linup, mayor of the city of Columbus. They will all be coming.
And what sort of conversations will we be having at the one in January? What sort of information will they be able to share with the community?
Sure, absolutely. So we feel like each of these individuals has kind of a unique perspective on different facets of Columbus. So with Rick, we're going to be talking a lot about the Black Lives Matter group in Columbus and diversity. With Kathy, we'll be talking a lot about education and what that looks like in our community currently. So she'll be sharing a lot of neat statistics that haven't seen the light of day in the public, so we're really looking forward to that. Brian will be talking about his high school initiatives as well as some of the branding efforts in the local community. And then Jim will be talking about just the city of Columbus in general and what that looks like politically, probably. So we're really looking forward to kind of a diverse array of thoughts.
We have the Community Education Coalition coming in this weekend for our News and Views program on Saturday morning, talking about the progress we've made in the last year and what they're looking at for the year ahead.
Absolutely.
And I've had many conversations with Kathy Oren about the various activities that they're doing out there. And I think it's really fascinating that you're going to have Brian Payne in, especially with the just the recent announcements about Ivy Tech and its ties to the aviation community and stuff. I bet he has a really interesting take on where we are and where we're going.
Definitely. He's already started working on his presentation for that as of November.
So the event will be held there at the Columbus Learning Center on Central Avenue.
That's correct.
And it's going to be in the... Which room will it be in?
Sure. So it'll be in the lecture hall, which is when you come in the front entrance of the Learning Center, you will go off to the right and you'll see the lecture hall. And that's
with the chihuly in the ceiling?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Now the desserts for the evening, it sounds like that might be a good part of the evening to entice people in. What are you doing with that?
Yeah, so we're having a new business to the Columbus community, Lukaby Coffee Company, and they're going to be bringing in cookies and coffee, tea, things like that, to kind of correspond with the facet of Columbus history that we're going to be covering. So we always like to pick a dessert venue that is going to support where Columbus is historically. So for Columbus Past, if you remember, we had Zaharicos do the dessert. And for our next event after Columbus Present, we'll be having Oh Sweeties do Columbus Future and present a futuristic look at the dessert industry.
Well, speaking about the future, I'm sure people are, as we wind down the year here, it's hard to believe that it's already almost 2018 and that March is just around the corner. Can we talk really briefly about the March event?
Absolutely. So for March, we have a great lineup of speakers as well. That'll be on March 29th at 7 p.m. in the Learning Center Lecture Hall. We'll have David Harrell, Assistant Professor of Crop Production at Ivy Tech, Richard McCoy, Director of Landmark Columbus, Mary Ferdon, Executive Director of Administration and Community Development for Columbus, Cindy Fry, President of the Columbus Area Chamber of Commerce, and Andy Pajkowski, Director of Business Development and Electrification at Cummins. They'll all be presenting on a facet related to Columbus Future. And then our dessert venue, like I mentioned a few moments ago, will be Desserts by Oh Sweetie Specialty Treats, and they have some fun things that we're not unveiling yet, but some very exciting things that are in the works for that event.
Well, we talked before we went on the air. I have to go take a look at some YouTube videos to see what we're talking about. So
that is correct. Thank you for keeping that hush-hush.
We'll keep it very quiet. I know, but I'm not going to say. But I'm anxious to stop by and try these. So the genesis of this project to do the past, present, and future of Columbus, I know we talked about it a few months ago, but could we just touch on a little bit about why Ivy Tech in particular is being involved with us?
Sure thing. So I had a discussion back in the summer with Dr. Combs, who is the chancellor for Ivy Tech at Columbus, and we were talking about events that could kind of bring the community in and give them more exposure to the campus and the things that we have to offer. And my desire with that was to really garner community awareness of library resources that are freely available to them. So the community is able to get internet access on our computers in the Learning Center. They're able to check out books in our collection just like our students, and getting a library card is free of charge. And so my desire was to actually be the leader of this, and then to have the backing of our chancellor and the backing of Phi Theta Kappa, which is co-sponsoring the events, and then present something that would be really towards our community audience in a new and a fresh way. Historically, like I mentioned in the beginning of the interview, we haven't had as many community folks coming outside of attending classes at Ivy Tech and IUPUC. So this is a real new way to bring in the community and share ways that we can engage them in a free and exciting way that talks about things that are of interest to them in terms of Columbus and in terms of their daily lives.
So it's kind of be an effort to get people who may not be familiar with what the university and the college and the library at the university and college actually has to offer.
That's correct, because there's a lot of things that don't get publicized, but that are freely available to our community, and we want them to know about them.
I have to wonder how many people just don't come by because they don't even know what's available.
That is very true, John. Yeah, we see that a lot, and it's our desire to, again, garner more awareness for that as we look to the future and make sure that our public knows that we're available, just as available as the public library here in Bartholomew County.
And the event is being put on by
Phi Theta Kappa and the University Library at Ivy Tech.
And for anybody who's just tuning in, we've been talking with Bethany Messersmith, the co-director of the University Library. She's on the Ivy Tech side up at the Columbus Learning Center. This event is coming up on January 25th. It is the Columbus Present event, and you can stop by the Learning Center at the lecture hall at 7 o'clock. And Bethany, thanks for coming in this morning.
Thank you, John, and thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome, and thanks for coming. I hope you can come back and talk a little bit more about the future event before it happens. I'm John Clark, filling in this morning on AM Columbus. We'll be back in just a few more minutes